And one of the promises that went along with the Trump tax cuts was the promise of investment into research and development, along with, of course, creating jobs. Now, the jobs thing hasn't exactly been working out. We've talked about that before. Both Comcast and AT&T, who lobbied extensively for the tax cut and said that it was going to be creating jobs, well, what did they do? They actually eliminated jobs. They also said, oh, don't worry, it'll boost worker pay. Actually, no. While they are giving bonuses, those bonuses, those one-time $1,000 bonuses are actually a very, very tiny part of their these companies' income. They make billions and billions of dollars. It equals out to about somewhere around 0.12 or 0.27% of their annual budget or their annual income. So these bonuses, I mean, look, workers would be far better served if they actually did raise wages. And of course, another reason the wages thing is kind of BS is that, or I'm sorry, the bonuses are kind of BS, is because they could show Donald Trump, hey, look, this is what happens when you give me tax cuts. We're going to give you positive press so that you can take credit while we still save billions of dollars. Now, AT&T and Comcast, like I mentioned, they fired 500 people just before Christmas. Great timing on that. And other reports had 400 people being fired just from the Georgia area. So in Atlanta. So, oops. Didn't exactly turn out with the jobs thing, right? But hey, you could argue, look, okay, corporations don't actually need to hire anybody because, well, there's not a lot of demand yet because the economy hasn't grown. But eventually, right? But not only that, but okay, they've got extra money. Maybe they're going to do some more research and investment. They said that's exactly what they were going to do. Well, it turns out, no, they're actually not. Pfizer has announced that it is shutting down research efforts on treatments for both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. So these are very important issues, neurological issues. I'm going to show you how many people are actually affected by both of those that are no longer, there are these companies that are no longer looking in for a cure, right? Or even any treatments for them. They're shutting it down. They're shutting it down. According to the LA Times, the company did not say how much of their budget they were spending on the two conditions, but said that in total, about 300 researchers will lose their jobs as it redirects its research and development budget elsewhere. So not only are they not doing research and development, they're also eliminating jobs, 300 jobs. So these researchers will no longer have careers. But wait, hold on here. The budget, in order to do research and development, should have gotten actually bigger because now they're paying less in taxes and they're actually able to repatriate money at a super, super low amount. Well, I'm going to get to those details later. Now, Pfizer said in its statement about this, well, Pfizer routinely reviews its R&D pipeline. And it said that it was continuing its R&D programs for other drugs such as tanezumab and Lyrica. Oh, that's great, people who need them. But again, it must be a sad day for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's sufferers. Because again, they're eliminating those positions. They're eliminating that research. Now, James Beck, who's chief scientific officer at the Parkinson's Foundation, responded to this statement by saying, "It's really alarming to see such a large pharmaceutical company deciding to abandon research into the brain and central nervous system." I agree with that. He said it's telling how difficult it is to do research into neurodegenerative diseases. Why? Why are they not doing it? Because it turns out that it's actually not going to make them a lot of money. And what they do is actually going to affect what other companies do. So if they're not looking into it, there's a good chance, and they're not looking into it because it's not going to lead to a blockbuster drug. That's what they call it. A drug that basically makes them a lot of money, right? Well, other companies are going to look at that decision and be like, well, I'm not going to look into it either because, well, Pfizer is a really, really huge company. If they're abandoning it, then there must not be any potential profit in this. And you can look at that based on the numbers too. I mean, how many people are suffering from Alzheimer's? About 5.5 million Americans right now. And of course, that's expected to get bigger as more people get older. We've got the baby boom generation that's getting older, that's beginning to retire. And so those people, it's possible that there's a decent percentage of them that will also end up being afflicted by Alzheimer's. Parkinson's affects about 1 million Americans, according to the Parkinson's Foundation. Now, to show you why they're doing this and what they're prioritizing on, I go to R&D chief Michael Dolston, and he told the J.P. Morgan Healthcare Conference on Monday, quote, "The company is explicit about basing its R&D strategy on drugs with multi-billion-dollar blockbuster potential." So think about that. These companies are basing what research they do into how much money they will make for actually solving that problem. It's not about the human element. It's not about we're doing this so we can cure this disease that is impacting millions of Americans. No. We're just doing this so we can make money. That's it. That's all this is about. There is massive, Bernie Sanders is right. There's massive fraud in the pharmaceutical industry. That is their business model is built on fraud. Okay. Now, when you think about that, of course, you think, no, this is wrong. And people suffer from these horrible conditions every day. And just knowing that they're not going to do research or cures or treatments into that because it's not going to make money, that's actually super, super gross, right? But that's the problem. And that's actually why we should have government also do research for things that don't actually make a lot of money, but help make people's lives better. But unfortunately, Republicans, whenever they get into power, they defund the government and they defund that research. And so, and what's even more disheartening from this article is this paragraph. They said the second biggest U.S. drug company after Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, in recent years seems to have devoted more effort to financial engineering than biomedical engineering. In 2015, for example, it announced a $160 billion merger with Allergan, the maker of Botox. The deal was a so-called tax inversion, aimed transparently at cutting Pfizer's tax bill in part by eliminating U.S. taxes on $147 billion in profits it has stashed overseas. So they go and they want to buy this. They want to buy the makers of Botox. Now, Botox does that actually do anything? Does it actually have health consequences, right? No, it's for injecting into your lips and your ass. Doesn't really have, as far as I know. And look, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a researcher on all that stuff. So there might be other practical applications that actually makes people's lives better and actually deal with serious disease. But from what I know, all they wanted to do is we want to buy Allergan because we can save money on our taxes. That's what this is about. Now, that deal was canceled. Why? Well, in 2016, when the deal was canceled, the only thing that had changed was that the U.S. Treasury had implemented rules that eliminated those tax savings. So first they want to buy it, and they're like, no, this has got nothing to do with the tax inversion. We're going to buy them because it's a great deal, and we're going to be able to help people. We're going to be able to save lives. Oops. Oh, no tax savings? Never mind. That deal was, of course, all about the money for their shareholders. Now, the article also notes that Pfizer is expected to be among the prime beneficiaries of Trump's corporate tax cut. The measure allows companies to pay a tax rate as low as 8% on foreign earnings they bring home, a big discount from the 21% top rate the law assesses on domestic earnings. Itself, a big cut from the previous rate of 35%. By some estimates, that could be worth more than $5 billion to Pfizer alone, not counting any gains from the lower tax rate. And you know what they do is they put that right in their pockets. And by them, I mean their shareholders. Now, before the passage of the tax bill, for example, the company announced a $10 billion share buyback on December 18th. That was 4 days before President Trump signed the tax cut into law. Now, likely President Trump had no idea what he was signing, other than, ooh, it cuts taxes bigly. Well, of course I'm in favor of that. It cuts taxes bigly. That's what I wanted to do. That's what everybody tells me that I need to do, and that's what's going to help me, so I'm going to sign it. Well, it's not actually going to help regular people, and it's definitely not going to help people who suffer from Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. It's not going to help the working class. No, that buyback, by the way, that $10 billion share buyback was on top of a $6.4 billion left to be spent from a previous buyback plan and was accompanied by a 6% increase in the company's stock dividend, which will be worth another $500 million a year. So let's compare that, right? So there's at least $10 billion that they're doing a share buyback, right? So how much is their entire research and development budget? Well, from the years 2014 to 2016, Pfizer's research and development budget averaged about $8 billion. That's a lot of money, right? But still, they use $10 billion for stock buybacks. These are billion-dollar companies, right? But see, we shouldn't be surprised that they did this because they've done this before. In 2004, Pfizer, along with many other companies that brought back billions of dollars from overseas, laid off workers, bought back their shares, and upped CEO compensation. And in fact, Pfizer actually brought back more overseas than any other company. You know how much they brought back? $35.5 billion. Almost tax-free. You know what they did with that money? They used it to buy back $27 billion worth of stock while laying off, firing 11,748 workers. That's what they did with this. And that's exactly what they're doing this time as well. Anybody who tells you that cutting taxes for corporations and allowing for tax holidays, repatriation, is going to increase employment, will create jobs, and spur innovation is lying to you. The truth is painfully obvious. We can look at it. We have seen what they've done before. Not only do these companies cut jobs and buy back stock, but they also innovate less. They do less focus on research and development, unless, of course, that drug will end up making them even more money. There is no incentive for research and development. There is no incentive to create jobs. And no purpose exists for this corporation other than to make money for their shareholders. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.